Welcome to another episode of the Woman Up podcast, a place where we entertain, elevate, and educate women on this journey we call life. And we are doing my first panel discussion today. I have Josi, Rosie, and Cilia with me. So what we're going to do is just discuss some topics that have come up on my Instagram and just like some topics that we've been facing at the moment. Hopefully you guys will relate. If you like the topics, put some suggestions in the comments, so we'll keep doing this type of episode. If not, then maybe I'll just stick to interviewing, who knows. Okay, so firstly, hi. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
I kind of wanted to ask first, before I go into like audience stuff, is there anything at the moment that you guys are like, oh yeah, I'm really struggling with that at the moment, or anything that just is like always in your mind?
You know what? On my way here, I was just thinking about this. Every single day, I think there's always struggles every single day. But because you're so used to it, I don't even know where to pinpoint that it stands out to me. I don't know if that makes sense.
Do you mean like every day there's like a different thing? Or...
Yeah, sort of thing like that. This is where I'm at in life right now, and like this solopreneur journey, there's always something. The struggle is real, and I can't pinpoint which particularly stands out most. For me, I think I would say, actually no, finance.
Yeah,
struggling the most because in the beginning, it's just hard, isn't it? Yeah. It's just hard. It's like, oh no, well, for me anyway, I took the riskiest path, which is quitting my job. Well, not my job, but I used to be a personal trainer. I quit that, literally earning good amount of money, and then went straight to full-time content creator and all of that, and just relying on Pilates. So my income just went all the way down, and I just thought, for me, it was just like, yeah, I because now I'm in this situation, I've got to make it work, and I just know it will work, but the journey.
Trust?
Yeah, exactly.
The trust of like the initial restriction and lack.
Yeah.
The knowing that the abundance is coming,
but
taking the right decision for the immediate, 100%. I have felt that so intensely. And I think with a lot of decisions, I think what you make, sometimes the right decision isn't the easiest one. And having that faith in yourself, and financially feeling that restriction and lack and still showing up anyway, the grit, oh my gosh, that you need to be like, I ain't going back.
Yep.
Like, this is it. This is it. This is where we're at, and we ride the motherfucking wave.
Yeah. And sometimes I feel like, I've been thinking, your ego would be like, no, you need to go get a job, you need to go back. But the thing is, because basically, so I've got a podcast as well, and publicly I said, I'm not going back, because I'm the kind of person, it's like a train journey. I've only bought one-way ticket, and I'm only going forward. If I haven't got it figured out, I stop there for a minute, and then once I figure it out, then I keep going. But I'm not buying a return ticket to go back, because I did it publicly. Now I'm thinking, oh shit, I'm struggling. That means I can't let people know that I'm going to go back and do personal training or something like that. But then
that accountability piece is so powerful, though. I think like, it's so easy to go back if you haven't voiced it, if you haven't announced it, if you haven't put it out there, and like make that accountability piece of being like, nah, I've said it. I've said it now. Like, and you just, the digging you have to dig deeper. Every time it gets to another friction point, like you dig deeper, and it's your ability to keep digging that will get you to, it's coming.
Yeah.
Like that your potential or your desires are just a projection of your potential. So if it's something that you want and you can visualize it, it's made for you anyway.
Yeah.
It's just a case of giving yourself the love, grace, and grit to get there, But yeah, it's hard in that process, isn't it?
But I also think that, especially nowadays with like social media and everything, I think people really want to connect with genuine people. So if you did like a post and you were like, you know what, guys, this is my journey so far, and to be honest, it's been harder than I thought, and I am going to have to go back to part-time personal training or whatever it is that you need to go back to. And I just want to share that with you. Like, I don't think people are going to be like, haha, you failed. Like, they're just going to be like, wow, like, I really appreciate that you've like genuinely opened up to your audience.
Yeah, piggyback on that. So and me and my friend was talking about this. Basically, we care so much. Our ego is like, oh, we care so much what people are going to think. But even if they are going to think, oh yeah, see, I knew it. She's going to go back. But then it's like the sun's still going to set. See, the sun is still going to rise. You're still going to be a year older. So why the hell are we going to care what people think? So, but then when the other day I had this like sort of, I call it download, and I realized that I love fitness. It's part of my life. I realized that I don't like being in the gym, and now I've realized that, you know what it is, I love helping people, as you know, and this label just came to me, holistic personal trainer, and I realized that, you know what, I am going to go back to personal training, but not with the same intention. It's more focused on the same work I'm doing now, which is empowering women, building self-love, but basically using fitness but with the holistic approach.
I love that. Yeah.
So you're putting your own spin on it.
Yeah,
So you're
exactly.
just like pivoting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
pivoting.
yeah.
Yeah.
I love
So,
that.
and I think, but there was a part of me thinking, oh, what if people think, oh, I thought she's not going to go back to personal training, but then part of me is like, fuck those people, man. Yeah, I know what I'm doing. I don't need to explain to people. People won't understand my vision. Only you yourself.
Also, people don't pay your bills.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
let's remember that. So you do whatever the fuck you want to do.
Yeah.
Because we've still got to pay our bills. We've still got to, and you're obviously really good at personal training. So why not combine the two and create this amazing amalgamation of skills that is more powerful than one or the other, you know?
Yeah. Plus, people will judge you anyway, like whether you
Yeah,
fail
exactly.
or whether
Yeah.
you have success. Like, if they want to, they will judge you either way. So just give them permission to be like, I'm not doing my own shit, you do your own shit. If I want to combine personal training with another holistic approach with self-love and all of those practices, I'm going to do that.
Yeah, I agree. I like that though. I think it's like so many people are like really opening themselves up to this non-traditional, like, you know, not working 9 to 5 and like doing their own thing, or even if they are working 9 to 5, they have a side hustle or they have so much like, and it's so easy for people to judge and just be like, oh well, that's not going to work, or that's even with what we were talking about earlier, Rosie, like you completely pivoted after you got pregnant, and then everyone was judging you. Everyone had an opinion.
I think in that moment, it's so important to remember that someone's belief in your capability to deliver something is actually just a projection of their own belief in their own capability to deliver something. Like, if someone genuinely is like, there's no way that you could do that, the market is oversaturated. That's one I heard all the time when I was going into an industry I didn't know and I didn't have the skills. There's so many people doing that will make, like, you're never going to, like, there's too many people doing that. You're just going to be another person. Okay, well, I'm sorry, that's your belief. I'm fully capable of doing this. And I sit in that knowing that that is your projection of your belief system. It's not mine to carry.
Also, something that I always remind myself, and I tell people as well, a lot of times, you know, like people say like the market is saturated, like you said, or people don't do certain things because they're scared of what people would think and all of that, right? But at times we need to remember, I always remind myself, we are actually worried about the people that are in our network, usually. So let's say in your network you have, 200 people, let's say for the sake of that, yeah? But if you think about this whole world, the world population is 8 billion people or more. So you're telling me you're going to let just those 200 people to hold you back what you want to do, when that 1% of that world population will be inspired by you. And
do you know what? It's so funny you say that, because I literally, when I was driving up today, and I always get this, I don't know if anyone else gets this when they drive to a new area or they go to a new area and see people living their life. Like, this isn't somewhere I have been before or I would come unless I intentionally had a reason to. And when I pulled up, I was like, look at all these people I don't know just doing their thing. Like, who are you? Who are you? And what are you doing? Where are you going today? Like, I don't know you, and you don't know me. You've not got any sort of view on me. Why am I going to let anyone stop you from, like, you're going about your life, I'm going to go about mine. Like,
Exactly.
It's funny how you really realise when you take yourself out of your bubble, life carries on everywhere. There is life everywhere that we are so unaware of. We get so wrapped up with our immediate circle, exactly like you said, and we worry so much about what the immediate circle is going to think. We don't give credit to the impact we can have
other people.
With the ripple effect, and you've got to consider that.
And also, people are watching without you even knowing.
100%.
Yeah, because like sometimes when I get people messaging me, oh, by the way, I love what you're doing. It's really inspired me. I was like, you've been watching my stuff?
Yeah.
Really? I'm like,
Yes,
yeah.
they
So like,
do.
you just know a lot of people out there are watching you without you even realizing. These are called the silent supporters. They don't need to necessarily have to every single day message you. Oh, I love this, but
They're getting
subconsciously,
subconsciously,
you actually affect. You have a good impact on them. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also think one thing that I did, I started like 2 weeks ago, is whenever anyone sends me like a nice message, or I did a webinar and I took like a screenshot of the chat because everyone was like, oh my God, I loved your talk, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
So anyway, I've got an album on my phone now and it says, on hard days, read these. And then I just like save
love
all
that.
of those.
Yeah.
I literally did the same. I have like a whole Word document with all of the feedbacks and like messages, testimonials of like
That's
clients and friends or
amazing.
like strangers. And every time I'm like feeling down or feel like my work is not going anywhere, I'm just like opening that document. It's like pinned on my taskbar, right? So I can just open it and read through and be like, I've done something good. I've done something
You know
Yeah,
what?
I love that.
I think this is something that we don't do enough. Entrepreneurs, we don't give ourselves enough credit. We always have. It's like what I mean. It's good to be reminded by other people, but I think we need to remind that we can look at our own progress and like, you know, we've come a long way, because the person we are today is not the same person we were yesterday and last year. We've done so much to become this person today.
Yeah.
So we need to remember, have self-compassion, give ourselves
Yeah.
credit. Yeah.
Humble brags are so allowed and so needed.
Oh, I love
they're
that.
they're so valuable as well.
Yeah.
Because I was just thinking, as you said, like the person last year, she wouldn't have sat here. Like, she would have been like, I'm sick today, I can't come in. But now I'm like, oh, I'm actually loving it. It's fun.
Oh, yay! I'm happy with it. Yeah. Do you guys have anything that you've like been thinking of or struggling with at the moment?
For me, I really struggle, and this is something I think maybe this is linked to the ADHD, neurodivergence, and natural ability to be one thing at a time. I struggle really, not so much now that I embody and practice more holistic practices and mindful practices in my life, but certainly for most of my life I've struggled to be in the moment and be one role at a time, particularly now that I am a partner, a boss, a business owner, nothing. Like, remember, we can be role-less as well. Like, we forget that sometimes we don't have to be XYZ, we can just be. But to actually like tune into, I think we covered this on the podcast, where I'm like, I felt for a long time, and I do still struggle with being in the moment in the role that I'm meant to be in. So when I'm mum, stop thinking about work, stop thinking about tomorrow, stop thinking about everything else. Like, just enjoy being mum, because that's all you need to be right now in this moment. Naturally, I start to feel pulled and tension in my body building when I like, it's almost like my body feels a lot safer being stressed. I think that's been built up from years and years of burnout and productivity and all of that belief system naturally wanting me to keep doing that I feel safer when I'm stressed and trying to be everything rather than being one thing at a time. But my impact is so much more powerful, and I'm so much more peaceful when I am one thing at a time. So dropping into that moment and actually really giving myself the permission to just be in the moment, because nothing you can do right now is going to change the world. What will change the world is being right now mum. You know, like, what will change their world and their future and the trajectory of their belief system around their value, which is important, is doing this one thing.
Yeah.
And not trying to do it all at once or rush to get everything done, because it's never going to be done. Just FYI, newsflash, it's never going to all be done, and you're going to always want to be everything.
Yeah.
So that's definitely something that I struggle with and have to really consciously manage myself with.
I can so relate to that one, because like, rather than like switching between different roles, for me it's often the focus on different tasks, and as soon as I don't have like a structure in place that allows me to know when I do what, so I really need kind of like that masculine energy. Sorry, my tummy is rumbling. Just for transparency, if you hear that on the podcast, it's me. But if I don't, so I need that masculine energy to just help me have the structure in order to really be at my best and then get my like feminine energy flowing and get my creativity flowing. But as soon as I don't have that, I would look at my day and be like, there is so much to do.
Yeah.
So much. But what do I do? Like, what is actually like really needle moving today? And I do try to combat that every now and then with like priorities. If I have like one of those lost days, I call them. But at the same time, there's always like this battling feeling of like guilt as well, because you're like, I'm doing so many things, but then I still don't get anything done. So what am I
And I
actually
think as a
doing?
business owner as well, being like, I don't deserve to have a successful business if my head isn't in it all the time. Just that lack of, like you said, the guilt, where it's like, how can I be making money? Or like, how can I show up as a really ambitious business woman when I'm not thinking about it 100% of the time? That integrity in it, like, and that is just, again, just like deeply negative beliefs around your worth.
It's super easy to slip into the thinking that you have to be on it like all the time.
100% of the time,
or that you have to be hustling all the time, because otherwise you don't deserve it, or you're not worthy of the business success. Yeah. But thanks to burnout, and I'm so curious also about yours, so I need to listen to the podcast episode that you recorded. Because through burnout, I really learned that I am still worthy, and I do need to take my breaks if I want to be in it for the long run. And being in the business, building a business, is a long-term game.
I was just about to say the realization. The realization, this is a long-term game.
Yeah.
Like, this burnout and stress and productivity, chasing, constantly striving, needing more, it's a forever thing.
Yeah, one of my friends reminded me saying, this is a marathon.
Yeah.
Stop sprinting. And I was like, oh my God, that is so true.
Yeah.
Because we always want to be like, like, for example, usually we set like ourselves goals in the beginning of, by this time of the year, I want to have done this and this. And if we haven't, then we beat ourselves up. And we feel like it's like a race. And my friend said, yeah, it's a marathon. I was like, I mean, you feel that liberation when I heard, it's a marathon.
Yeah, you got to pace yourself to not burn yourself out like in the first, what is it, like 2 kilometers? I would die after 2 kilometers.
Especially without eating.
Yes. I'm going to share one of mine. This is something that I'm like coming out of, or like starting to see progression in, but it's more so something that was a big thing for me last year. So last year was like quite a tough year for me. And I realized that a lot of the friendships I had like in my 20s or even like early 30s have kind of dwindled out, or we've outgrown each other, or for whatever reason, like the reasons that we were friends are now like things that aren't really important to me now. But then I feel like there was this like interim period where I felt like I'd lost a lot of my friends, and I felt like really lonely. And then I got into this like, I don't want to say depressed, but I was like in a really bad place, and I felt like I didn't really know who to talk to because my friendships had kind of dwindled. So I kind of like went through it on my own. And it was like this interim period between losing your old friends and finding your new tribe. Like, ironically, that was when I met you last year. But even you said, like, when you met me, you felt like I had this really, like, lost energy about me, which I feel like is not there right now. Like, I feel like now I'm much more confident to, like, approach people and make friends, and my energy is just completely changed. But I feel like people don't really talk about that. Like, people talk a lot about get rid of negative, toxic people in your life and blah, 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 blah. But then once you do that, there's like this interim period where it's really lonely, and like no one talks about the grief of like getting rid of those people who potentially have been in your life for however many years, maybe even childhood, sometimes even family for some people. So I guess that was one of the things that I wanted to bring up, because I think it's like a really important one.
It is so important. I mean, when I like broke up with my ex, right, like after the wedding, we've been together for 12 years. He's been basically what I've known for like so long. And then he was gone. And even though he was gone for the right reasons, because it was a really toxic relationship, I was sad about it. Like, I was grieving of the loss of what I've known so well, because that was my everyday life. So it is really, really normal and human to actually like have those experiences of loss whilst you're like making the space and healing from that, so you can welcome in new people into your life.
It's like the caterpillar butterfly effect, isn't it? With the whole, like, you're a caterpillar with all the other caterpillars, and then when it's your time, you go into your cocoon. And
that's a really good analogy, actually.
Yeah, it's like, I think there is such an insular period. You're so right. I think we've been probably through a similar period at a similar stage. And the grief, I actually posted on my story about it recently. I was literally in the depths of a moment of grief. I'm so grateful for some of the relationships that I've had over the years, and so sad that they weren't forever friendships. Maybe we'll rekindle one day, but right now in this phase I'm in at the minute, it's not aligned for either of us. It's not a positive relationship for either of us, and potentially one day it will come back. But there was a time where I thought they were my people forever, and I missed them. I missed what we had. I missed the friendships. I missed the love. I missed the laughter. It's sad. But this version of me and this version of you, currently we're not in the same space, and that's okay. It hurts, but it's almost like knowing that although it's painful, again, it's like the business thing, like it's knowing that this is really painful, but it's a process, and it's something that I am going to go through, and the evolution, and like it's going to come. You go into yourself to like really understand what it is you're going through, allow the pain to surface, allow the grief to surface, shine light on the things that you need to shine light on within yourself in order to make then your next phase of friendships impacts. Like, it hurts.
Yeah.
And I think there's not enough people talking about that like with personal growth comes pain. Always.
Yes.
And if you want to be the better version of yourself, you have to acknowledge that and be willing to go through that process. Because it won't kill you, and it will make you stronger. And on the other side of it is so much beautiful, like life, opportunity, happiness, joy, peace, prosperity. Like, there is so much beauty on the other side of that pain, but you got to be willing to go there.
And that's the thing, you got to choose your pain that you want to experience, right? Either it's the pain of growth, kind of like when you were a child and your muscles were growing, or like your bones were growing. It was painful, but you had to grow to get taller, right? It's the same with like personal growth and working on your mindset and everything. That's one side of the pain. The other one is the one of regret when you didn't do it. Like, are you willing to stay where you are and bear that pain? Because if you're not happy right now, that's something that you still are carrying. So it's your choice of which pain do you want to go through. Do you
sacrifice yourself in order to stay with others, or do you sacrifice others in support of yourself? Which one is it? You can't do both.
Hey ladies, thanks for joining us here on another episode of the Woman Up podcast. I hope you're enjoying the episode so far. I just wanted to take a moment to say, if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please follow the channel and leave us a review. It really, really helps with our reach. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss any episodes in the future. If you're feeling especially inspired, please feel free to leave us a comment or share the episode on your socials. I personally read all comments, and every share has a massive effect on our growth, so it really means the world to us. Thanks in advance, we appreciate you, and let's get back to the episode. And there was one that came up last time we did one of these episodes with Josie, actually, is that one of the people that commented on my Instagram said that something she's struggling with right now is that she knows she needs to leave a toxic relationship, but she just hasn't hit that point yet, or like she hasn't had the strength to do it yet. And it is that choice of like, well, do you just stick it out with something that you know is harming you? And when and where does that breaking point come from? And it is so hard. Like, just because that relationship is toxic doesn't mean that once it's gone, it's not going to hurt. You're not going to miss them. You're not going to feel all these things. So yeah, I think people definitely are like struggling with this like midpoint interim feeling, and I don't feel like people are talking about it.
I think that definitely there's a lot more community spaces opening up that are holding space for people going through those processes. And I think the whole like coaching world, community world, like we are innately built for connection. And I think there is a general collective awareness around the fact that that is more necessary than ever post-COVID. which is why I think it's so important, like podcasts and spaces like this where you open up about it and help people realize they're not alone. I'm sure you did as well. I felt like I was the only fucking person in the world with no friends. Literally, I was like, oh my God, no one likes me. Like, I'm the only person here that's on my own. Everyone else is so happy and has their people, and I'm the only person.
Oh my God, I feel like that all the time.
Yeah.
And you know, social media doesn't help when you see other people's stories. You're like, oh my God.
This is what I mean. So, the curse of like comparison and what we consume online as well tells us this and reaffirms this. So it's so amazing that you've opened up and said that, because it's such a powerful thing for people to realize. In any way, in any situation, you're never alone. Like, there are 100% always, no matter whatever you're going through in your life, you will not be the first person to have gone through it.
Yeah.
And it just takes a conversation. It just takes something to be like, you are never in this on your own. And once you realise that, it's one thing realising that, another thing actually feeling like you can do something about it. But the first step is just knowing, like, loneliness is horrific. And there's a lot of people out there feeling it.
Yeah. Well, let me try and pick one out that someone else has written. Okay, so everyone sitting here is above 30, just to like, for context.
30 and flirty. Just FYI.
So one of my questions I put out on Instagram was, what topic do you wish we would discuss more? And she wrote, being in your late 30s/early 40s and not having it all figured out yet. I think this is just like, if my picture was in the dictionary, that would be the description. I always feel like I'm really late to the party. Like, there's so many things I want to achieve, and I'm seeing other women achieving that, and they're like 28, 29, even 30, whatever. And I'm just like, oh my God, am I too late? But that's like my own story that I've created in my
100%.
head.
You're never too late.
Yeah, like even...
And honestly, the one thing that I would say, what I've realised in the last couple of years, no one has their shit together. Like, literally, none of us fucking know what we're doing. No matter whether we look like we do on Instagram. Some of the conversations I've had recently with friends who I've seen, and I've watched their stories and I'm like, wow, you're on fire right now. And then I've picked up the phone and she's like, oh my God, I'm having a fucking terrible day. And I'm like, oh, you're going through it too. Like, everyone's going through it. I think it's just we pinpoint, there's so many expectations of where we need to be at what point in our lives. And like, no one's got it figured out. And I think the power is in the joy is in the journey. And like, there's so many like phrases that you can bring up at this point where it's like allowing yourself to evolve and question that is more powerful than sitting in something feeling like you got it figured out. Like, if you have, there's people out there that have got married at 23, had kids at 26, in the nice big house with the corporate career, and they're fucking miserable.
Yeah.
Just because they look like they've reached these societal expectational benchmarks of what success looks like. It's all bullshit. Like, none of this shit matters. How liberating, how empowering that like no one really has a fucking clue what they're doing.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that like people watching my stories as well are like, yeah, I get what you
and
are talking about.
You're inspiring people at this point, and there'll be someone who is in their 50s that doesn't know what they're doing, that's trying to figure out, that's inspiring someone at that point in their life. Like, no one's life is how it's meant to be. Like, no one's life is the picture perfect life, because we're all different. We're all meant to experience different things, share those experiences and have impact in different ways. And I just think there's no point to any of it, but in the most liberating way. I don't want that to be like, there's no point to any of this, by the way, guys, but like, there is no, but in
let's just go home now.
Give up. Bury yourself in a blanket with ice cream.
Much to the opposing side of that, actually, in the fact that like, they're like, really, honestly, no one knows what they're doing. And I think just like feel into what feels right for you, and if this feels good, and if it's like, if try the hat on, you know, if putting this hat on with this path feels, how does this hat feel? Does it fit nice? Does it make me feel good? Like, let's go with that for a bit and see, let's wear this hat for a while and fucking change hats. Love that. We can change hats. We can. Yeah.
No, I was going to say, I feel like if I deep it, to be honest, I think it's not that we don't have it figured out. We just at a point in our life where we want to do something else.
Yeah.
And maybe because of the pressure of the society, we feel like, oh, we can't be doing that. So we're scared of things. So we feel like we're still trying to figure out to make it feel, for our ego to feel safe. So I think it's just saying, oh yeah, we haven't got it figured out. I think it's just a way of saying like, oh, we just trying to change where we want to go in life. And also, I feel like I've lost my train of thought.
I think just understanding as well, what does it mean when you say having it figured out?
Yeah.
What does that mean to
Yeah.
you? Like, because me having it figured out right now is going to be very different to what it being figured out for you means. So understanding for you on a personal level, what does having it figured out actually mean to you?
Yeah.
Because you probably have got it a lot more figured out than you fucking realise.
Yeah.
Like...
And I think it goes back to like what we were saying earlier about just trying to filter out people's opinions. Because, in fact, last weekend I went to visit my grandma. She's in a home, and one of my mum's friends was there, and she was like, this other lady came in, was visiting a family member, and she had a baby, like a newborn baby, and my grandma loves babies, so she was like happy, kept staring at her, whatever. And then my mum's friend turned to me and was like, oh your grandma really likes babies. And I was like, yeah, well, there's one right there.
Can I add one?
And she was like, no, come on, like there's one, you know, she wants babies and blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, well, I feel like, do people think I'm just like knocking guys away?
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I don't want the man of my dreams to have a kid with. Like,
I think sometimes also like what they forget, like, oh, that we should just find any man
and just have a baby.
But forgetting like what we got to go through.
But also, not only that, like maybe you can't have kids.
Yeah, it's really insensitive.
Like, it's very much like people, okay, that's on you, babe. Like, yeah, like my grandma liked kids. That's good. She had some. Like she had her time. That was like she had her kids. She got her moment. And it's great that this baby's here because it's bringing her some joy later on in her life. Brilliant. What role have I got in this? Like this isn't. Yeah, like my grandma loving kids is my responsibility to fulfill. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I should have a baby just to make her happy.
Just to make my grandma happy. Yeah, exactly. Like
that's like so for the wrong reasons then.
Yeah, but also people just don't understand. People don't know your story. People don't know what's going on. Like it is insensitive because you've got absolutely no idea what someone has gone through or what someone's capabilities are in order to, and maybe someone is really hurting in that aspect, or maybe someone is really broken in that space, and your projection of what you think they should be achieving when you don't know this person from Adam or Eve, it's not your place to say.
Yeah, agreed. Did you figure out what you forgot?
No.
Oh. Okay. Another one that's come up is work-life balance. So specifically being a mum and running a business or having to go back to work after maternity leave.
If I'm looking at
Rosie?
I was about to say, so I literally just talked about this quite in depth actually. Got very emotional on the episode that I was on, just me and you, talking about it's really hard. Navigating being an ambitious, driven woman with professional goals and wanting to have impact on a big scale alongside the introversy and like close-knit, it's hard to explain, like you're wanting to do something that's very expansive, but then from like a very like real home unit, you've got these babies that you are like, I said to my wife the other day, I actually think it's hilarious that like we've got kids. Like, I think it's really funny I have humans. Like how is this happening? Yeah, like, and that I'm responsible for humans. Also, that does get a little bit overwhelming sometimes because I think, oh my God, they're actually like lives in my hands. It's really hard navigating and allowing yourself and understanding like that I think just understanding that you can be multifaceted, and that just because you've got kids doesn't mean you have to be like 100% mum. Just because you've got a business doesn't mean you have to be 100% business. You do get to do both. It's about being able to swing that pendulum and spin the right plate at the right time. With that comes great awareness. And in order to do that well, you have to have a lot of self-awareness. And you have to be able to manage your time well, which, as I've touched on in the podcast, I did not do, because it will always be to the sacrifice or detriment of something. If you are 100% in one area of your life and you have other responsibilities, something will suffer. But I also think it's about really leaning into and allowing yourself to fully embrace the part of your chapter you're in. in your like if you've got kids and I've got young children, it's about balance right now. When they've left home, you can go full tilt into your career again. Like, you have time. We have time. Right now, it's about doing what feels good in business alongside your role as a mum, so that nothing is compromised. Like, you're in this chapter where you have babies and they are not around forever. And I think one of the biggest things for me, having scaled a business very quickly alongside having young children and going through COVID, it was really understanding that before you know it, it's gone. I can't get back those first few years with my oldest daughter. I wasn't there. Mentally, physically, I was not available to her. That will have had some sort of impact. But for me, I can't have another kid just to get the 3 years with my firstborn back, you know? Like, it's about really embracing and having the awareness that this chapter you're in is so temporary. All chapters are temporary. Right now, your business needs to not be number one. It can be up there on your priority list, but it's also about having the knowing your kids are also your priority and being able to balance the two and not rush it. Like we said about the whole racing and the productivity and the burnout and like the sprint and the marathon. Like, okay, start as a sprint in your 20s, your career, really focus. When you have kids, you start to jog. You're just jogging, ticking over, doing what you need to do alongside your mum role. And then once the kids go, you can start running a bit faster. And I think it's just having that awareness, because otherwise, or you don't, and like me, you learn some really fucking hard lessons. But then those are the most powerful ones, because I'm a lot more present now than I've ever been with my kids.
Yeah. That's a tough one though, I think. Like, that's one of the things I always think about is like how mums deal with that, having to go back to work or...
You do just regulate though. Like, honestly, we always say, like, people say to me, I don't know how you do it, having the business that you've got with having 2 young children and also wanting to start other projects and do other things. A lot of people say to me, oh my God, I don't know how you do it. But then I look at other people and think, oh my God, I don't know how you do it. We all just fucking do it. Like, we do just do it. You regulate at a new level of busy or a new level of self-awareness or a new level. It feels uncomfortable until it's your normal. And that's the thing, is like, going back to work is hard, but you're also setting great examples for your kids and showing them that you can have independence, that you have your own life outside of motherhood, that you're not, your sole purpose is not just to be there for, like, your sole purpose isn't to have children for your nan. Like, your sole purpose, like, my children are an amazingly beautiful, abundant part of my life, but I'm also me away from mummy, you know. I still get to be Rosie, and Rosie has other passions and purposes outside. We can be multi-purpose. It's okay.
Do you think there are any practical habits or like something that you could suggest for like a new mum or someone who's like, oh, I don't know how, if I'm going to go back to work, what does that look like for my kid, that they could implement?
Time management is my biggest piece of advice. And in terms of, like I said earlier, dropping into the one moment you're in at the time. Like, when you're at work, be at work. When you're at home, be at home. Because kids actually don't... My children now get more from me, even though I have less time, than when I was fully with them in maternity leave periods. Because I'm intentional with my time and I'm fully present when I'm with them. Kids actually don't need that much of you. They just need all of you in the time they're with you. And that is so much more powerful. It's much, much more powerful. You'll have a lot more impact with your kids if you're fully 100% with them when you're with them for a small amount of time than if you're 50% with them a lot of the time. Because they pick up on it. They detect it. They know when you're distracted, when you're on your phone, when you're taking the calls, when you're trying to do work with them in front of the telly. That all affects their self-worth and the value that they see in themselves. So that would be my biggest piece of advice, would just be like, drop into where you are and take, like, switch the mindset, you know, like, right, I'm full body, let's turn on Moana, make way, start dancing, start doing, you know, like, that is full mum mode. And then when you're in work mode, switch off Moana and get into mum mode. It's about the shift in the mindset and dropping into what's in front of you.
I love that. Okay, I think we have time for one more. If anyone has anything they want to... Josie, do you have anything? If not, I do have a backup one.
In terms of...
Just like anything that you think has come up for you or for any of your clients as well, because you're a coach, so maybe something that's coming up.
Something that came up for actually a client who had like an inquiry with me, so they did like a discovery call the other day, was around what you focus on, basically you grow. And she was very much focusing on lack.
Okay.
So she was focusing on lack of the relationships, lack of opportunities, lack of people to talk to, lack of motivation, joy, drive, personal growth. So she was really seeing all the negative sides. And then we had one discovery call. And afterwards she was like, hang on, actually, I do have some of those people in my life. There are some things I can still do. There are still opportunities that I can create myself. So I feel like it's so important to sometimes just remind yourself actually to switch it around from this lack mentality to more of an abundant mentality. But it's so easy to just focus on the negative things in our lives because that's what's kind of like most present, right? So like what's good is what we take as granted. We're like, cool, that's sorted. So we only focus on what's not good. But by that, we multiply that and we start forgetting what is good in our lives. So that's kind of like a recent theme that came up which was like a good reminder for myself because I had to deal with like a really difficult situation with my past mentor, and I can't do too much details, but it was quite tricky for me. And I could have focused on everything that went wrong in that relationship, in that situation. And for a moment, I was just angry. So I had to really like allow myself to go through the emotion. Was like, okay, I'm angry like that this happened. But I could have easily also said like, oh, why did this happen to me? And everything is so bad. Nothing came out of it. And really go down the negativity route. But I decided, no, let's focus on what is in my control, trusting myself, getting my ass back out of the shithole and really picking myself back up again.
Yeah.
And then in the last couple of weeks, like so many good things happened, like being on your podcast. Basically 3 times now. Like within 2 weeks, but also being booked onto other podcasts, having more client calls coming in. I was just like, what the fuck? Like just by me focusing suddenly like more on the good things rather than the shitty situation, everything turned around completely like differently than I thought it would be in a matter of weeks. So that's just something I feel like can be so, so, so powerful. And it's so, the word is not underestimated. How do you say? Gosh, my English is now failing me. How do you say when you're like not putting as much value, underrated. There we go. That gratitude practices, for example, are really underrated, but they can be so powerful in just changing your perspective every single day.
Yeah, I've got a new journal that was actually given to me as a birthday present. And it's called the 3-question journal because sometimes I'm like, for God's sake, like I can't fit another habit into my day. And sometimes I like punish myself for like not doing the things that I think I should be doing. So this is like literally 3 questions in the morning and 3 questions in the evening, and they're really short. It has like 2 lines underneath it, so you can't even like go into detail even if you wanted to. But one of them, the first one in the morning is what do you appreciate about your life? And every morning I'm like, oh, I really want to fill this in now. So I think it is just like, even if it's just, it takes me like a minute to fill in that journal, but it's helped me so much over the last 2 weeks. So I think, like just starting off with what am I grateful for today? Like, I know it sounds so cliche, but it really helps like your mood and your energy as well.
Something on that I do when I can feel like the negative self-talk starting as well, and like the dark black hole of negativity, comparison, all that stuff coming in, is I flip the story as if my kid's coming to me with my issue, because I would never in a million fucking years tell my kids to work harder, spend less time with your loved ones, work harder, you're not good enough, you're not putting enough effort in. You hear it, right? And then you're like, oh my God, what a vile person. Like, that's absolutely not the sort of words that I need right now. Flip the story and think, like, if you're, like, with the finances, for example, if your kid or someone you really love came to you and was like, I'm struggling so bad with finances, you're not working hard enough. You must work harder. You must show up inauthentically. You must copy what that person's doing because they've got it figured out. You'd be like, that's not helpful in any way. Like, so just flipping the story in that moment and being like, is this helpful? Like, and not more often than not, it's like it it's like the snap effect. Like it causes the snap to be like, hang on a minute, no. Like, what the hell am I telling myself here? This is absolutely ridiculous. Like, this is never going to get me where I want to be. And just, changing your mindset to that, then also you start thinking about the gratitude, and the gratitude drops in. I think gratitude? That's a new one. Yeah, gratitude. Gratitude is like a buzzword. It's heavily used. I think there's a lot of people that are probably triggered by it because they think, oh, gratitude practice. But there is so much power in it. Like once you really stop resisting it and fall in love with it, it's so powerful.
Yeah. This is the reason why I was laughing. She was talking about the negative talks, because in my culture, I think, well, in most ethnic culture anyway, your parents are always like saying, you always want to please your parents, basically. Growing up, I've always been like, never been good enough. Like as a Chinese girl, if I don't get A's, which is expected, if you get A's, it's not excellent, it's expected. But if you get A stars, if you get A's but not A stars, it's like, why didn't you get A stars? Like that. But if you get a B, you're freaking a failure. I mean, so things like that. And then and then things like for example, you're not working hard enough. It's so common for parents to be like, you're not working hard enough. Like when I didn't get any A's in my A levels, in fact, I almost failed my A levels. My mum was just like, you didn't work hard enough. I'm so embarrassed by you. How am I going to explain to my friends? Like,
has that then become your self-narrative?
Oh yeah, 100%. Like growing up, hearing all of this.
It becomes your own dialogue. What you say, I read that once somewhere actually, what you say to your children becomes their inner voice as they grow up. Yeah. So the position of power and impact you're in as a mother, you have to be so aware of, because what you say to yourself and what you say to your kids becomes their internal narrative. And then they then have to break that. Yeah. Which is hard.
Yeah. Don't tell your mum now that you're gonna go back to PT.
Oh, she probably would be happy actually, because she knows that I'm gonna get incoming, but anyway, incoming anyway. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you guys for coming in.
Thank you so much.
I really enjoyed this session, actually.
Thank you for having us.
Did you guys enjoy it?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, do all the things to get the podcast out there. We are on a mission right now to get our first 1,000 subscribers. So please hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you next week. Bye. Okay, so that's it for this week's episode of the Woman Up podcast. All the links and resources we mentioned in the episode will be in the description, no matter where you're listening or watching from. If you're listening or watching this on a podcast platform such as Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please leave us a review and follow the channel. You have no idea how much this helps to push out the podcast to a wider audience. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button for the same reason, and feel free to leave a comment, ask a question, or make suggestions. It really means the world to us, and I look forward to seeing you again next week.